Alright, MrSotko here, and welcome back to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast, and today it is a 1 vs 1 on Kholodny Ferma. And over on the right side we have our blue US Forces player, Multi, and on the left side we have our red OKW player, twitch.tv/dbmb, who is the #1 US Forces player, but deciding to play OKW today. It is Kholodny Ferma, so we have our victory points going down approximately the center of the map, and our fuel points slightly diagonal here. And our munitions points, of course, in the middle of the map on either side of the center victory point. So pretty easy to capture your own victory point on this map. A little bit harder to capture your opponent's. So we'll see how that works out. Stern Pioneers moving out. Looks like they're moving out to the munitions point first. And we have our rear echelon troops taking the territory point over here first and foremost. And putting that barbed wire on this side of the cover so that his opponent cannot use it against his direction. And that schwere Wehrmachtschlepper moving out with a Volksgrenadier and 2 riflemen coming out for the U.S. forces. Also putting some barbed wire on this side as well to defend his side of the territory against the other side.
It is finished. Good work, men.
Also a Kuba wagon about to come out for the OKW. And with these 2 riflemen are moving out and going right across here, going to the fuel point. And these riflemen appear to be going to the munitions point as well. Also, riflemen moving over to the center of the map. And our Stern Pioneers all done making that barbed wire over here. And now going to be moving on, looks like, to this territory point here. Schwere Wehrmachtschlepper is possibly in position to make a battle group headquarters there. And the Kuba wagon is now moving out across the map. At the same time, we are taking the fuel point for the OKW as well. A 3rd rifleman out for the U.S. forces. And the Kuba wagon went to the center of the map. And there are some riflemen in this church now. I think the Kuba wagon can outrange them. Could start laying down some fire on them. It indeed is going to turn around. But slightly can't see around that, so I needed to move up just a second there. Now we have Stern Pioneers moving over to the victory point. And Volksgrenadiers moving up to this territory point as well. So we have the U.S. forces on the bottom side of the map, whereas the OKW chose to take the top side. Riflemen taking the territory point, and our rear echelon troops will be moving out sooner or later here to the victory point. So really it's going to be a battle over the center for now. The riflemen have moved out from the church. Looks like they're going to go into the victory point here, be a little bit brave, and face that Kuba wagon. But nope, deciding they could just go right back the other way. And now going to get inside this house to battle it out with this Kuba wagon so they don't get suppressed. And so he's just going to have to back it up just a little bit and get out of range of those riflemen. And now we have some riflemen taking some of the OKW territory that was taken here, the territory point, and may meet these Stern Pioneers soon enough. May actually start firing on them if they get too close to that area there. And indeed, both of them spotting each other. So now they know that they are up top. We have some riflemen flanking these Stern Pioneers, so they're going to go right up in front of their faces here. But not the best idea because Stern Pioneers do such incredible damage up close. So while the Stern Pioneers are going to suffer some losses, these riflemen, I think, will suffer a little bit more losses. 2 to 2, not too bad there, a decent trade. Both Grenadiers inside the house, battling out with these riflemen, but the riflemen have some good cover as well. So that will be a long, drawn-out battle unless something else happens here. The riflemen in the center, not really taking the center victory point there. Could just move over just a scotch and take that back. Or at least just take it in general since it's neutralized. Rear echelon troops now moving over to OKW territory here. And there is 2 territory points over here for the taking. And this rear echelon troop has no contest over here. So we'll just pick that up for free there. And we have 1-star veteran rifleman moving out with that rifle company commander getting that free veterancy. Another free veterancy there as well. So 2 of them with veterancy, 2 of them with no veterancy. Stern Pioneers moving forward and decide to go the other direction as they've seen some riflemen decided that building there. Kuba wagon not really being too useful this game. Hasn't had any good opportunities to use it against his opponent because his opponent is just being a little bit clever about it and getting inside of a building as soon as he sees it so that he doesn't get suppressed and has to run back to base. So these Volksgrenadiers battling out with these riflemen, but both of them are pretty far away. I'd say the riflemen have slightly worse cover, as it seems like they're straight on to those Volksgrenadiers, where the Volksgrenadiers have the logs in front of them. So we'll see how that works out. Rear echelon troops now did take all of these territory points down here, so the U.S. forces indeed owning the entire bottom of the map. And I'd say they own a little bit more than the OKW as of right now. And now riflemen taking the top victory point as well, so soon the U.S. forces will have 2 victory points. Now 2 Sturm Pioneers moving out towards these riflemen here. Some riflemen over here as well in negative cover. Should have started firing on those just for a moment and may have gotten some good damage on them real quick. Sturm Pioneers now moving up, going to hide behind this stone wall here for a little extra cover. However, the rear echelon troops have showed up to support this area here, and Sturm Pioneers running away, lost a man there, didn't want to lose any more. Kubelwagen now firing at this house. Riflemen inside the church starting to lose some of these riflemen here, down to 2, with the rear echelon troops using volley, and these troops have to run away from that before they get suppressed. Riflemen going right up to the front windows of this house here and firing right inside. Looks like they may have taken out 1 there, but not really going to take out any more. And going to have to run away from these Volksgrenadiers and these Sturm Pioneers. Now the Volksgrenadiers coming up back to the northern victory point to retake that. That will still leave the Allies, the U.S. forces rather, with 2 victory points. So the OKW score will still be depleting, 492 to 464 so far. And we have the Scavenge Doctrine for DBMB. And of course, again, the Rifle Company for the U.S. forces, but you can't really expect anything else because the Rifle Company is virtually always used.
Send your orders.
That and the paratroopers, that's another one that is used pretty often. Volksgrenadiers going to take that northern victory point. Need to take another spot, though. Could go down south, as there's really nothing contesting the bottom. Could just send just about anything down there, even a Sturm Pioneer, just to go down there and take that. M5 Stuart, a very early M5 Stuart, about 6 minutes into the game, got that M5 Stuart, and is now firing on these Volksgrenadiers. Problem is, the Volksgrenadiers already have a Panzerschreck, so they're going to start launching on this M5, but it's going to be a little bit easier said than done, as that M5 can simply juke back and forth very easily and perhaps dodge Panzerschrecks or get out of the range of the Panzerschreck in the first place. Now inside this house, not going to be able to do too much inside that house. Panzerschreck misses again, missing a little bit of health on that M5, but so far so good. Now going to chase away these Sturm Pioneers, not going to be able to handle that. Still, riflemen inside this house, and the Kubelwagen working on those riflemen, but being a very annoying situation here in this center house. This is a very critical house to hold on this map, as it's right in front of the center and it's right in your opponent's face, and it's very hard to get around it without taking care of those riflemen or units inside the house first. Volksgrenadiers now moving into the center here and trying to chase down this M5. There goes the Kubelwagen, running away as fast as possible here, running right into the Rakettenwerfer, but M5 just too fast, gets around that Rakettenwerfer very easily. Now the Panzerschreck here coming up and gets a good hit in the side armor there, does a pretty good chunk of damage there. Rakettenwerfer just a bit too slow to fire on that M5 as it was coming along here. 1 man left in this squad in a dangerous situation here. Should have just retreated to get out of there, get that little retreat defensive bonus there. 3 squads of riflemen now trying to take this munitions point here. And Jaeger Light Infantry have been summoned from that house, and they immediately go right back inside. Probably going to exit them out the back of the house. And Panzerschreck, that was the worst Panzerschreck shot I have ever seen. He hit the ground about 3 feet in front of him. That must have been the new guy. Here, you take this Panzerschreck and shoot this. Nobody else wants to carry it around. So they gave it to the newbie. And now Jaeger Light Infantry in big trouble there. Gets out of that house. 3 riflemen all up in the face here. And Sturm Pioneers now shooting at very close range at these riflemen, doing huge damage. And that was well worth the loss of those Sturm Pioneers to do such huge damage on these riflemen. And Volksgrenadiers now moving forward, but Volksgrenadiers just getting wasted there. And they throw grenades, but a little bit too late. But it did force the retreat, at the very least. Now need to take some additional victory points for the OKW. Otherwise, they are just simply losing the game at this point. M5 Stuart battling out with these Volksgrenadiers, but gotta watch out with that Panzerschreck there, and gonna be firing on that M5, although I think it is indeed the private there, or whatever the equivalent of the private in the German army was, with that Panzerschreck there. Never used it before, can't blame the guy. Rakettenwerfer now backing up, doesn't really need it in there with the M5 Stuart, but we do have a captain out on the field with the 2 bazookas in the squad, now repairing this with the vehicle crew. And now trying to force away these riflemen. Only 3 left in this house. He's just going to have to pick up and run away here. But he's going to run right in front of these Sturm Pioneers. And he ran into negative cover. Now the Sturm Pioneer is going to chase him down and kill that rifleman. A fair loss for the U.S. forces there to lose a rifleman with 1 veterancy. However, he does have that rifle command,
Being captured.
the rifle company commander. So if he brings out another rifleman, it does have the chance to be a 1-star veteran anyway. So not too big of a loss, but just definitely don't want to lose anything in the game. Stern Pioneers now taking the center, and these Stern Pioneers should definitely go down to the bottom. There's absolutely nothing on the bottom, and I see this all the time in a 1 versus 1. So if you're looking to be, if you're looking to try to get good at 1 versus 1s, which I suppose if you play, you definitely want to be good, just make sure that if you see that you haven't gone down to the bottom or top side or what have you in a long time, and you see that it's totally captured by your enemy, sometimes just go down there, just bring something down there to scout it, and make sure you do that, because believe it or not, most of the time it's totally undefended. There's absolutely nothing down there. You could just go ahead and start taking some of those territories back, get yourself some extra resources. Now, U.S. forces engaging here in the center, throwing all kinds of riflemen here in the center. They all have bazookas, so the OKW getting any kind of armor is probably off the table. It wouldn't be the best idea. Otherwise, you have to be extremely careful. The M5 Stuart, combined with all these bazookas on, let's see, we have 2 bazookas on the rifleman, and we have a 2 bazooka on the captain squad. The captain squad comes with 2 bazookas, and you can put 2 bazookas on a rifleman squad, but it does cost you quite a bit. So that means there's a lot of anti-tank for the U.S. forces there against the OKW. So it's going to be very difficult for him. Although bazookas don't typically do too much damage, so you're pretty safe if there's just 1 or 2 against you. But once there's about 4 or more of them, then it starts to get a little hectic. Again, the bottom just completely undefended, except for this 1 rifleman. Could just go down there with a couple things and start taking that bottom there. Now the top victory point belonging to the U.S. forces player. And now the troops coming around from the battle group headquarters trying to take back this sector here. But the M5 Stuart proving to be very annoying for the OKW player, as it's just doing very, very well. It only has 9 kills, but it's simply, its value right now is just worth way more than 9 kills. Dropping a bazooka on the ground there from that U.S. forces, picks it up with the Stern Pioneer. Very good idea. Sometimes I see people not picking stuff up that fell on the ground and needs to just retreat out of there. And that infantry support gun, or 75mm pack howitzer rather, my bad there, and almost destroyed that Stern Pioneer. And riflemen pushing forward. They all have flamethrowers and just doing huge damage to these Stern Pioneers. Stern Pioneers running up as close as possible to use those assault rifles. They do huge damage, but down to 1 man in that squad, taking huge damage himself. So these U.S. forces now just pushing onto the battle group headquarters, and he's trying to reinforce like a madman here, but it's costing him huge amounts of money to reinforce all these troops. So you can see he's just got to reinforce all these, and that's going to cost him so much money, and he's losing them at the same time, so that's even more money that he has to click. So these riflemen just proving to be very, very effective so far against DBMB. Now loses, looks like he lost an entire squad there. And now some anti-air, or excuse me, a white phosphorus smoke barrage is coming down on the ground there and forcing him away from this area. Gonna burn him alive should he stand there. And gotta watch out, this Volksgrenadier is burning. And he only has 1 man in the squad, but he is reinforcing it at the same time. Volksgrenadier is trying to chase down this M5, but just not going to happen. He's just getting pretty much tooled up by that M5. It's just so fast. He can get it out of there in such a quick hurry. Now the OKW player is in a bit of trouble here. Is very, very low on troops compared to the U.S. forces. As you can see, the U.S. forces troops has many more. One of them is a vehicle crew indeed, but he has many more, and they're all very high veterancy. And so is the OKW for the most part. But he just has very few and scattered units, and most of them are all in this battle group headquarters here, which is a problem because the U.S. forces is just bringing flamethrowers over here and torching the whole area. Now down to the bottom, deciding to actually capture some of the bottom here. Stern Pioneers taking away the victory point from the U.S. forces. We'll have 2 victory points for the OKW, so try and turn the game around. He needs to capture all these territories here to get that resources. Get that resource advantage back. Jaeger light infantry battling out, sitting behind this tank with good cover, but there's way too much forces coming. Throw some grenades to try and get a preemptive grenade throw, hopefully that his enemy would run into those, but his enemy just a little bit too good, a little bit too vigilant, moves all of his troops out of the way. A wasted grenade throw, only down to 68 munitions, so really needs to watch what he's doing with his grenades. Stern Pioneers now running for their lives from this M5 Stuart. Even though they have that bazooka, still just not going to be enough against the M5 Stuart. Going to be losing troops on the way out of there. And this M5 Stuart is just one of the best M5 Stuarts I've seen in a while. He's just doing so well with it. And now the Volksgrenadiers is moving over to the victory point. Going to try and take this one from the U.S. forces. U.S. forces is taking the center one at the same time. However, U.S. forces taking the bottom one too, as they have so many forces on the map, they could just pretty much spread them out and go anywhere they want. OKW's trying to catch up a little bit here. Now a flak panzer out on the field, but he's got to watch out for that flak panzer. There's a lot of bazookas out on the field. This has one just quite a bit here. And he's actually a little bit lower now on bazookas. He used to have 2 bazookas on 2 rifleman squads, but one of them was picked up by the OKW Stern Pioneer. Taking big damage on that Ostwind. Surprising damage. And now trying to battle it out with that M5 Stuart there. And doing some decent damage on it, but just not enough. That's so far very ineffectual Ostwind there. Jaeger Light Infantry moving up the Raketenwerfer. Looks like he may actually get a shot. No, doesn't get a shot. The Raketenwerfer just too slow for that M5. M5 just too quick. Volksgrenadiers taking the top territory point here in front of the, approximately in front of the U.S. forces base there. And needs to take a lot more than this. Has the northern victory point and is now trying to capture the center victory point. But I'm not sure how long this will last, as there is a 75mm pack howitzer trying to fire on the area here. Trying to get a lucky shot, destroys some of that cover there, at the very least, so his opponent can't use that against him now. And Ostwind is now moving forward here. And we'll see what he chooses to go for. It looks like he's going right for this pack howitzer. However, there's bazooka and this M5 Stuart incoming, and he is firing at that pack howitzer, but not going to be able to do it for long. Just uses the shell shock ability and shocks that crew with that M5 Stuart, and he's trying to get out of there now. And the bazooka squad with the captain is up there and going to get hit by 2 bazookas here. Ooh, hit by 2 bazookas now, just a tiny sliver of health. Needs to get out of there as soon as possible, but the engine is damaged. And now trying to bring some troops down to stall these troops from getting to this Ostwind, but I don't think it's going to happen. Loses the Ostwind there to these bazookas. And DBMB, apparently not the... OKW isn't his greatest aspect. He is number 1 with U.S. forces currently. But losing pretty badly to this enemy U.S. forces. Apparently U.S. forces is a little bit up. M5 Stuart now moving forward and could move forward right to that battle group headquarters there. Another Ostwind out on the map, decides to give it another go here, and so far doing a little bit better here. But the problem is that shell shock ability from this M5 Stuart is stunning that Ostwind there. And now the rifleman trying to take the center here, but he's not going to really be able to hold back these riflemen and this M5 Stuart with just 2 Stern Pioneers and this Ostwind. The Ostwind's having a hard time with this Stuart as he activates that shell shock ability and then attempts to stun that Ostwind. Now picked up a bazooka, used the bazooka against the Stuart there, very nice. Now about half health on that bazooka. Ostwind in chase. And now maybe he'll get some hits on the side armor. Nope, gonna face the frontal armor there and just back up. Now down to very, very low health. Ostwind still in chase. Ostwind gonna move forward and start firing at that 75 and takes out 2 there with 2 shots, 1 per shot. Pretty good. Destroys that 75 pack howitzer, decrews it rather. And now the captain is inside of the building here and firing 2 bazookas at the same time at that Ostwind. Gotta get out of there and just repair that up. Now trying to take back the center here, but he's putting some shoe mines in the center to hope that they get run over and do some damage to maybe to that M5 there, should he move right over them, and he could just simply lure him to that area. Now bottom still uncontested. It's just something I hate to see as a caster. It's just, as I can see the entire map as a caster, and well, I understand that when you're playing the game you have fog of war, so you really don't know where your opponent is, but a lot of the times I see very good players just completely abandoning the bottom, and perhaps that's not why I'm the best player in the world, because I don't have that kind of strategy, but it just seems to me that sometimes the bottom is just so uncontested, or the top, or vice versa, whatever, what have you, and just nobody even bothers. So right now the U.S. forces is just soaking up all these resources down here, and he doesn't have to worry about it all. With his higher rate of resources, he can now concentrate his troops all the way in the center and up here and do huge damage to the OKW player. should the OKW player go down to the bottom and try and take that, that will force some of those forces to go back to the bottom and defend it or take it back. Schumann goes off. Looks like it took one of the captain squad out there. Now the Ostwind firing at these troops and firing at the captain. They're doing big damage. Now firing at some of these riflemen here. And M5 Stuart is moving forward, has that shell shock ability on, so there's increased criticals, but loses that. Takes way too much damage on that Ostwind. Not sure if it actually ran over a mine or if it was just all of the bazookas there. And so much fire and so much going on right now. It's actually lagging out my computer. Sherman's Easy 8 back here firing on the Ostwind. Took it out. And we have the Stern Pioneers with a bazooka. Gets hit by that bazooka. Very low health on that Sherman Easy 8. Took a lot of damage. And because of the two bazookas that the OKW pick up, at least the two that I saw, they're definitely using those against the U.S. forces now and taking out a lot of the U.S. force armor and doing big damage to it. 75 pack howitzer doing huge damage to the OKW here. Can just fire right at this battle group headquarters from very far away. And now the OKW trying to push back to the center once again and also pushing off to the east as well to take this territory back. And the Sherman needs to back up to base and decrew and repair that up. Still the bottom completely uncontested. Now scavenging some of these wrecks on the map. These two Ostwinds here going to get recovered by the OKW there. Get a little bit of resources back for them. That scavenging doctrine. Troops reinforcing and healing at the battle group headquarters there. And need to move out. Problem with the battle group headquarters is that all your troops are concentrated right here. And if you have a Katyusha or other kind of rocket launcher, perhaps a Priest for the U.S. forces, or even 75 pack howitzers, you can really just bomb the battle group headquarters, even if it's in fog of war and you can't really see if there's any troops there or not. Typically, there's always something there, healing or reinforcing. And so as long as you just bomb this area, you get a lot of resources. Particularly if you play like a 4 versus 4 and you see that there's a lot of OKW on the other team, 3 or 4, and you're Russian, and if you can get 1 or 2 Katyushas, that's very nice, because you can just pretty much bomb their battle group headquarters from halfway across the map and get kills pretty much every time. Now 2 Shermans are out. We have a Sherman and the Sherman Easy 8, the slightly longer barrel there. And now both of them got to back up a little bit, as all these squads have either a Panzerschreck or bazookas from the U.S. forces there, courtesy of the U.S. forces. Ostwind now forward here and firing at these troops here. Big damage on these troops, but still not taking any out. Took 1 out there, and AoE damage on all of them now. Sherman Easy 8 now moving forward, aiming for that Ostwind there. Ostwind no chance against this Sherman here, and the OKW's resources are extremely low here, 27 and 15. And now some of the OKW players did, some of the OKW forces did go down to the bottom there, take that victory point back from the U.S. forces. So now the OKW owning 2 of the victory points, so turning the game around slightly, but still 429 to 180. So definitely losing pretty bad, but could turn the game around. I've seen it before. Now Ostwind firing at these troops here, but takes a shot from the Sherman Easy 8. So at what cost here? And going to be firing right on these troops here, and with that flak doing pretty good AoE damage, but some fairly unlucky hits, I suppose you could say, on these infantry here. Could have taken them out rather quickly. But it's really a matter of RNG. Sometimes you kill a troop every hit. And now rear echelon troops taking the victory point on the bottom here, going to turn the game back around once again. And these 2 Shermans here providing a lot of firepower for the U.S. forces and a lot of anger for the OKW player. Really no way for the OKW player to deal with this. Could use his Raketenwerfer, but his Raketenwerfer all the way back at base at the battle group headquarters here. And the Raketenwerfer has had virtually no luck this game whatsoever. As you can see, the Raketenwerfer, 0 kills, 0 veterancy. Perhaps he just brought it out. I'm not really sure if he just brought this one out. But even still, earlier in the game, he was using a Raketenwerfer and trying to hit that M5 Stuart with it and had absolutely no luck doing so. Now the Sherman has to back off here, as there's too many Panzerschrecks / bazookas coming his way.
Team ready. Assemble crew. Get ready. We've captured it.
Captured the point there for the OKW. top owned by the OKW, but the middle and the bottom are owned by the U.S. forces. So far the U.S. forces definitely in a commanding position. 47 munitions and 29 fuel to 31 and 17. So just superior on both aspects there. Has less manpower because he has so many troops on the map, but that's sort of a good thing. Sherman's now being fixed up here, and it looks like he brought another Sherman on the field. So he has 2 Sherman mediums and the Sherman Easy 8 on the field. So 3 armor for the U.S. forces. So right at this point, I believe he could just pretty much roll over the OKW with all of that armor and all of his troops. The rifleman has to run away there. Going to try and retake that territory point, but not really worth it. Really nothing. Really not going to be that worth it. Only 4 and 2 there on that point. Two Shermans now moving forward here and hits that Rakettenwerfer dead on and blows it up there, but now losing some pretty big health on that Sherman there. That explosion did big damage to it, losing the Ostwind now, leaving the U.S. forces with 3 armor and the OKW with none, and DBMB GG's out, leaving Malty the winner. And I think he just pretty much just got outplayed. I believe OKW probably isn't his best military, and just didn't take the bottom. I think if you watch this replay, he'd be like, oh, I never took the bottom the entire time. I would like to imagine, and I see this a lot in 1 vs. 1. As you can see, the bottom was virtually never taken by the OKW. Once in a while, he would meander a troop over here and start taking something. But then it would just get immediately taken back by the U.S. forces because he didn't bring enough over to defend it and really enough to force back the U.S. forces on the bottom. So just leaving the entire bottom for the U.S. forces was his downfall, I believe. He just didn't have the resources, and he allowed, and not only did he not have the resources, he didn't take away the U.S. allies, or the U.S. forces resources at the same time. So I think that was the downfall. Just way too much armor out for the U.S. forces and not enough for the OKW. I hope you guys enjoyed this match, and I will see you guys next time.